Hi, this is Mr. Frazier. We're going to go over 2.4 real briefly. It has to deal with inequalities and the ability to write a compound inequality as well as a simple inequality, and then being able to write it in compact form. Alright, so it begins by reading Tanisha's family signed up for a new cell phone plan. It says she's a limited number of minutes or texts that she can send each month. She can text no more than 300 times per month. Okay. So our independent is time in months. And it asks at least what number of texts can she make a month. Okay. And the least amount of text she can make is 0, so you would write remember, our answers have to be in complete sentences. Then it says, write an inequality to represent the statement. So that means this would stand for the number of texts and has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, because that's the least that she can make. And then it said, what's the greatest number of texts that she can make? Well, she must be able to make less than or equal to 300. Okay. So if I wanted to make this a compound inequality, it's not asking me, but if I want to make a compound inequality, which is one of the next ones, okay, the compound inequality would be the 0 and the 300, and they're both less than or equal to. They always go in the same direction. Okay, this would be compound. Now the other way you could write it is she has to be greater than or equal to 0, and x has to be less than or equal to 300. Either one of these are correct. Okay, these are the same answer. The difference is this is written in compact form. Okay, it's putting it all into one statement as opposed to breaking it up into an and statement. Okay, next would be graph the inequality. Hopefully you know it's a closed dot and a closed dot. The numbers you're using are 0 and 300. Okay? And then you would be drawing a line in between it, because an and is where they intersect. Higher than 0, less than 300. In this case, it's higher than or equal to 0. That's why it's closed dot. And less than or equal to 300. Problem 2 says Tanisha's family's new cell phone plan costs $55 per month. So there's our per month. That's our x. So we know it's 55x plus 20 cents for each text. Okay. So we have 2 of them in this case. It's $55 per month and 20 cents each text. Okay. Now, the problem here is understanding that, are we talking about the text messaging that she does from the phone, or is this a per month cost? So this one we don't count because it's going to be a set amount of $55. Okay. The one that we're counting is the 20 cents per text, which is rather expensive. So you would have $55 for the month plus 20 cents per text. Okay. Because it's done by a monthly cost. We're going to figure out what is the cost each month, not a yearly cost. If we did a yearly cost, then we would have 2 variables because you have 2 things that are changing. But here we're just talking about a monthly. Okay. If I was going to write this in function notation, what would I put in front of it? Hopefully you know you'd put, correct, f of x. F of x dictates that it is a function. Okay, so the minimum cost of the plan would be $55. That would be if she never texts, right? We put a 0 in for here. That's our input. It's just like the Carnegie Work Online. You plug in a 0 for here, and you would get 55 as the answer, right? That would be the lowest amount that you could have. So the minimum cost it's going to cost us is $55. That's if we don't ever text anybody. Okay? So that means my monthly cost will be always greater than or equal to 55. So write an inequality that represents the monthly cost. So here we go. My monthly cost has to be greater than or equal to 55. Why? Because we already said this is the least my bill will be. Okay? The least. And least always means greater than or equal to. Okay? Then it says determine the maximum cost per month by using the greatest number of texts. Well, if I plug in 300, this is when I use the calculator, 0.2 plus 55. And I put in 300 times 0.2, you should get the number 60 plus 55, which would equal, correct, 115. So my maximum bill would be $115. Okay? Because it will only let me make 300 texts. So now I have my range. Okay? I have from 55 to 115. So I write an inequality for the monthly costs. That would be my 55 is my low end, less than or equal to X, which is less than or equal to 115. And this again is written in compact form. If you're going to write it in AND form, you're basically writing both inequalities and you're putting the word AND in between them. Okay? So the next one asks us to write this in compact form. We've already done it. I will write out this in the AND form would be this and the 115. And you just put the word AND in between both those statements. So in other words, you would have X is greater than or equal to 55 and X is less than or equal to 115. Now, do we read that as X? Hopefully you know we've gotten far enough that when you're dealing with inequalities, you read it as all the numbers or all numbers. So I need all numbers that are greater than 55 and all numbers that are less than 115. So being able to read it correctly is really, really important. And again, in compact form, we've already done that. That was for G. Sorry. All right. Next one would be graph the inequality. Pretty easy. Close dot, because we use the word equal to, 55 and 115. Hopefully you know how a number line works. Okay, and then I draw a line that connects the two. And I'm done. That's my AND statement. Okay, so we're going to look at question number 3. This will be the last one. And then, of course, you have a ton of these to do in your book, as well as on the Carnegie software. John owns a 50-acre apple orchard. Among his concerns during the growing season is the amount of rainfall. Unfavorable conditions such as drought and flooding will affect his tree production. John does not want rainfall amounts to be less than 10 inches or more than 50 inches. So let's go ahead and graph this. He can't have it be less than 10 inches. So that's this way. And it has to be more. He doesn't want more than 50 inches. So which type of problem is this? Hopefully you know it's an OR problem. Why? Because they use the word OR. Okay? And the second reason would be you don't have a number that's less than 10 but bigger than 50. That doesn't even make any sense. So you understand that he can't have it less than 10 inches because that would be called a drought, and more than 50 inches would be considered flooding. Correct. So now we're going to write in a compound inequality to do the same information. The issue we're going to have here is that it's not an AND. You can't write this in compact form. So you have all numbers less than 10 or all numbers greater than 50. Notice how I read it. and how I write it are the same. You got to be able to go from graph to inequality. Now, what would make this inequality different? Well, if they had said it had to be 10 inches or less, well, then 10 inches could be an answer. But here it said it had to be less than 10, so 10 is not included in the answer. And neither is 50. It said more than 50. 50 is not more than 50, it's equal to 50. All right, and then it says at John's apple orchard, the profit he will make depends on the number of bushels he grows. He makes $25 per bushel. Okay. But he must subtract $3,000 for costs. So they're telling you, here's $25 per bushel. The bushel is X. Okay. And then it says he must subtract $30,000 for costs. So that would be $25 per bushel minus $300,000. Okay. It's pretty easy to come up with the equation. You just read it. There's the number with the X after it because of the word per. Tells you then you must subtract, so you would be minus 300,000. It's already given you your actual ranges. It then tells you that John must sell, he must make at least $80,000 to pay his bills, but he doesn't want to make more than $250,000 because it'll put him in a higher tax bracket. So they've already given you the ranges. So you know that $80,000 goes down here because that's how it works. And $250,000 goes up here. They've already given you the range. In other words, they've told you what is the smallest amount and what is the largest amount. And then, of course, at least means greater than or equal to. And he doesn't want to make more than. So that means he has to make less than. Not less than or equal to. It doesn't say if he makes 250 or more. So this is an OR problem again. Okay. Because he doesn't want to make less than this, and he doesn't want to make more than this. So does he want to be between that, or is there a number that he can be less than and greater than? Hopefully you understand this is an AND problem. So he's going to be between these two things. That's what he's trying to do. More than this, less than this. That's in between. If he said he needed to make less than $80,000 but more than $250,000, that doesn't make any sense. So then you would put the inequality in the middle. Okay, because these all numbers revolve around profit. These are all profit numbers. So you got to use the function for profit. Okay. And then you have to separate the inequalities and do the actual problem. So in this one it would be 80,000 2x minus 300,000. And then the other problem would be 2x minus 300,000 is less than 250,000. Okay, and you'd solve each one of these. Okay? You'd start by adding 300,000 to each side, and then dividing by 2. Okay, and it gives you what your bushel amount would be. So both of these are done the same way. I'll just do one of them, and then you can get the number of answers different. So you get 380,000 is less than or equal to 2x. Remember, we're always doing the opposite. So this is negative 300,000. When I move it over here, it becomes positive. I go ahead and divide by 2, and I get that my x has to be, excuse me. Oh, and I misread the number. Sorry. This is supposed to be 25x. Hasn't made a difference. So I go ahead and divide by 25. And when I divide the entire thing by 25, I get, not 2, 15,200. Okay. Then when I do the other problem, I end up with 2,200. So you're going to do the math, but I'll just go through the answers. So again, you would add 300,000 to both sides and then divide by 25. Okay, it's 25x. Okay. So now I have my ranges for my x's. I can write those in the compound. I have to be greater than or equal to 15,200 bushels or less than 22,000 bushels. So you're going to be here, close dot, here, close dot. Sorry, those are equal to. Okay. And here. Okay, and hopefully you know this number goes here, because in the number line the numbers get bigger, don't just randomly appear. So this is what we did in 2-4. It is a combination of 2-1, 2-2, 2-3. The difference is we have two inequalities. Thank you very much.